Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guests are two of the creators of the very funny TV Land show, now in its third season, Teachers. As members of the ensemble, the Katydids, Katy Colloton and Katie O'Brien, along with their sister Katies, created Teachers after making videos and doing shows together for years. Let's take a look at Teachers.
Everybody, shut up! I have finally figured out what my life's dream is.
To read at a third grade level?
No, Deb.
Patty Parakeet Breaks the Glass Ceiling?
It's by C.F. Blinky. She's the guest author for this year's book fair. Her books are way feminist, and they teach girls about bending over.
You mean leaning in?
Yeah, same thing. I read her book this morning, and I was so inspired by it, and the fact that she was a featured friend on The Real Housewives of Potomac, that I have decided to be a children's author just like her.
You're going to write a children's book?
Yeah. They're like 20 words spread out over 8 pages. I tweet the equivalent of 10 children's books a day.
So what are you gonna write about?
I don't know. Which is why I want to talk to a professional like C.F. Blinky, who, by the way, is friends with Reese Witherspoon. Hey, guys. Sorry I'm tardy to the party.
Mary Louise, what happened?
Well, I pulled my erector spinae reaching for a Sour Patch Kid that rolled under my car seat.
Oh, crap. So you can't lift anything? Would you feel better if you got to smell Chelsea's hair?
Nah, it's her 5th day with dry shampoo. It won't be nice and fresh till another 2. Not to worry, though. I called some movers to help us. They should be here any minute.
Moving hunks?
I thought they meant like hunks of furniture, hunks of trash, not hunks of...
Meaty man muscle? Where did you find these guys?
Pastor Ted recommended them. He said he uses them whenever he has to do any heavy lifting, and he's always rearranging the rectory.
I have to go. Wait, you're not gonna stay around for a good eye bone?
No. I am currently pursuing loftier goals than getting lost in chiseled abs, a tight butt, or how the muscles perfectly shape into that deep V right above that thick D. Woo! Yeah. I sacrifice for my art.
Everybody, please welcome from Teachers, Katy Colloton and Katie O'Brien.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here.
We're so excited.
I'm so excited. I love the show. It's so funny.
Thanks.
You do a wonderful job, and I hate to put it so practically, but you do 20 episodes or so a season, and it's episodic. And in my mind, I respect that more than the 10-episode serialized show right now. I think it's more work, and I think it requires a certain amount of diligence sometimes that these serialized shows that I'm forced to consume on a regular basis don't actually have. So congrats to you.
Oh, thank you so much. We will take it. We will take it.
You have to make every episode good.
Right, it's
and
hard.
Oftentimes I watch shows and I'm like, that is the 4th episode that has not been good, and finally we've gotten a good one here. So what is the process like for you guys, for the Katydids, your group who you created the show with? Is it a bit easier for you going into the 3rd season, or does every season still feel a little like a lot of responsibility and hard work is just around the corner?
I think every season still feels like a lot of responsibility and hard work. And I think as the seasons go on, you feel more responsibility, like you said, to be like, oh my gosh, we have 20 episodes, we have to make all of them good. But it's still so much fun. And the process for us is there's 5 of us named Katie. We're all named Katie, and we all work together. And so we all write the scripts, and we all act in the show and produce on the show. So it's a very democratic system. We vote on everything because we're a group.
Vote on everything?
Yeah,
Wow.
everyone always asks like how we get along or how we make it work, because we've been a group for 10 years, and it's simply just majority rules. That's the only rule we have, but it works because, you know, you lose 50% of the time, but you also win, and so you don't hold grudges, you're not upset. It's just majority rules. It's pretty simple.
I also feel like with a show like this and with Majority Rules, you can kind of bring your ideas that didn't make it back later
Oh,
on.
yeah,
Oh,
baby.
we don't
are
drop
famous
'em.
for that.
We don't drop them. If someone says no, we're going to keep bringing it up every day, all season.
Yes, well, we vote. Yes.
Make us vote 10 times.
I know you guys voted this down last time, but it seems like maybe a better chance to do this idea that I have.
Rats and recorders is brought up a lot.
Yes, we've been trying to do a lot about recorders with rats that we keep voting down.
Every season, every week.
Because everyone is just going to be just like this because it begins with R, both sides.
Yes,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with us, but yeah, yeah.
How did Teachers start? Teachers was initially was it a video that you had made before it turned into a show? Sort of like I hate to use the phrase viral video, but a video for the internet when you were kind of just a sketch group making stuff for the internet?
Yeah, it started as a web series. The Katydids did some like one-off videos that kind of went semi-viral, and then we did the web series. So they were 24 episodes, all between like 20 seconds or 2 minutes. So they were really short, just kind of character pieces, just character jokes. And then we sold that to TV Land and made the pilot.
Wow. So what was it like going from these sort of 20-second to 2-minute videos to 22-minute shows and 20 of those?
It was a big learning curve because when we initially did the web series, we designed it. We like knew people consuming content online were not going to sit through something that was longer than at the time we were creating this, we were like 2 minutes. Nobody's going to sit for something past that. So we were just going for jokes, like really quick jokes in and out. And so then when we got the pilot order, we had to transition to narrative. And so that was kind of a whole different learning curve to be like, oh, these characters need to have backstories and we need to care about them. And, you know, we can't just go for quick jokes.
Right. Our first draft of the pilot was just like 10 sketches. And they were like, okay, it does have to tell like a story. And we were like, oh, right. We did forget about that. So it was, but we had Ian Roberts and Jay Martell come in as our showrunners, who were the showrunners of Key and Peele. And they kind of helped us transition from web series to a narrative.
Once you get into the hang of doing narrative, do you find that it's not necessarily easy, but you are better at applying your jokes and your sketches into an overarching story? Because what's great about the show and what's great about a good sitcom is the ability to set up story and have immediate punchlines and punchlines later for that story as well, which I think this show does really wonderfully.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, well, we spent a lot of time developing our characters. Like we spent 6 months talking about our characters before we did the web series. And then for the pilot, we spent 3 or 4 months. And so by the time we got to season 1, we'd spent like almost a year talking about these characters, so that once we started figuring out story and structure, it was like as soon as you set a scenario or a situation you wanted to play with, you knew which character would be best for it, and you knew how each character would respond, because they're so specific. And it's such a character-driven show.
Now, I have to ask, how much are your characters not based on you guys, but maybe fully exaggerated versions of the most hilarious qualities or saddest qualities of yourself?
We're pretty much exactly like them.
I am my character.
No. Yeah, when we started the web series, it's funny because when we created the web series, we never thought these characters would live 5-6 years later. So we started with like a really small true thing about ourselves and really heightened it. And so then it like took on a life of its own. So I just started with somebody who was very naive, and I was very naive growing up and grew up really religious. And so then I was like, oh, well, what if I just exploded that out? So that's how it kind of started.
Yeah, I played Miss Snap, and I started as someone who just really wanted to be liked, because that's me. And then she became kind of a promiscuous, rude woman that just, in her desperation, by keep adding layers to the more desperate and more superficial you get, the more heinous you become.
She's heinous.
Yeah, she's pretty heinous. She's wonderfully heinous and trash. I mean, one of my favorite episodes recently was the one where she volunteers and is giving people essentially in hospice makeovers.
Yes,
coma
patients.
Yeah.
Coma patients, yeah.
Makeovers.
Because you're not going to wake up if you're in a coma. If you're not going to wake up if you don't look beautiful.
Yeah, you don't look good. Why would you wake up?
She was just like blow drying a comatose woman's hair.
It's really horrible. I love playing Miss Snap. She's really a horrible person.
In the best way.
In the best way, but she's a reflection of, kind of the obsession with pop culture and social media that's happening right now, so I kind of love it.
How did all of the Katys find each other? Was there like 2 Katys first who put up a little advertisement that were like, we're looking for other funny Katys because we want a very specific group called the Katydids? Or
you're not far off.
Really?
Kind of. So we all met in Chicago. We were all doing improv.
It's so specific. It's like a guy starting a band and be like, I only want people named Brad in the band.
Yeah, only Brads. It was so weird. We were all performing around Chicago at I.O. and Second City, and Caitlin Barlow just happened to notice that there were a lot of women named Katy kind of coming up around the same time. And so she put us together for a one-off show. And she was like, isn't it funny? We're all named Katie.
She thought it was so hilarious.
So
no one at the time
hilarious.
cared. They
Nobody
were like,
cared.
this is a dumb reason to put
Yeah, and we're all
together.
like in our mid-20s and nobody thought it was cute and it was like weird and creepy. And so she put us together for one show and we had a ton of fun.
How many of the jokes at the first Katy show were based on just you being named Katy?
Well, our
all of them.
suggestion was name a famous Katy. And then so basically every scene was just like a Katy Perry, Katie Holmes, Catherine the Great. But then we did it, we thought it was gonna be one show and then we continued. And like 6 months later, we had to change the form because it's like you can't keep doing Katie Holmes improv.
No.
Like-
We also used to start the shows, which we thought was hilarious and would really like bring in the audience right away. We'd start our shows being like, I'm Katy, I'm Kate, I'm Katy, I'm Caitlin, I'm Kate, and we're the Katydids. And it always would like go to dead silence where
Yeah.
everybody was looking at these middle-aged women like, what?
But none.
Middle-aged.
Well, we're not middle-aged, I guess.
Brian thinks 25 is middle age.
But nonetheless, you persisted with it.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
committed.
We always had fun because people always ask like, you know, how we lasted so long? And I think it is that we really love each other and care about each other and are always having fun. You know, even when we were failing and people, you know, we were struggling, it was okay because we enjoyed it. You know, that's always the important thing.
I've always been fascinated with groups that start in their 20s, right? Because in your 20s, you don't really have that much of a personal life, so that you know your work becomes your personal life, especially your performance partners. But once you sort of have this job, which is a real job that is a lot of hours, I imagine you want to have personal time away from the group. Does the group still hang out outside of work, or has it become fairly like, we're all best friends, but because we work together, that's what it is?
We're all best friends. I mean, at this point, we've been together 10 years, so it's like family, and we really love each other, but we work so much together at this point that the thought of hanging out with everybody on the weekends to me would be like, oh, like
horrifying.
We've seen each other so much all week.
I feel like there was a transition point after season 1 where it became family. Like that's what we always say because it is like we're together like 18 hours a day all the time. But then you stop like making plans. You know, I mean, family is just people you see that you love and you care about, but you don't make this huge, you know, an effort to plan things with per se. They just show up. At least that's my family.
They're just there, and you don't ask how they are. They're just there.
And if you saw each other outside of work, you'd probably just talk about work, which is not what you want to do outside of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're like sisters. Yeah.
We both live a couple blocks from each other, and we used to always meet at this diner, Patty's Diner. And then we were like, we need to stop because we would say we're not going to talk work, and then we inevitably talked work, and then it'd be 8 p.m. and it'd be like, I want to stop talking about work.
But then we had nothing else to talk about.
Then you can keep talking about work.
Yeah.
Keep digging in. There's always something to talk about, and
Always
complain
something
about,
to
and
talk about.
try to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's been the toughest part about doing the show?
The toughest part for me is it's your baby. I mean, it's this thing that we created, and you know, it's our first big thing that we were ever a part of. And so I think the toughest part is constantly feeling this pressure to make it good or make sure because it's your baby that, you know, you're proud of it and you want to put everything into it. And so I think it's a really wonderful part of the show, but it's also a very hard part of the show because I think it's just a lot of, you feel a responsibility to make it really great.
Yeah, it feels like the work is never done is I think the hard part because you'll do this writing period and it'll be really rough, but you'll be like, great, the scripts are written. I feel great. It's going to be awesome. And then you get on set and there's a million reasons it can go wrong. And you're like, okay, well, I'll spend the hours here making sure we're always on set, making sure everything's going well, casting, you know, production and all that. And then you're done and you're like, great, it's done. It's going to be good. And you get into the editing bay and it's like, you know, the wrong edit, the wrong music. Like it's so many opportunities you can mess it up that it just constantly feels like, oh no, we have to always pay attention and always be on our game.
So your mind changes all the time when you're doing something creative. I think especially when people are doing comedy, it's like, oh, we can twist this a little bit, or that line can change, or like we could drop that or that like here. It can be very minuscule and it can be very large. And most people who watch it have no idea of the like little bits of process and change that go into
Love. Yeah, labor of love. Like in the writer's room, Pain will argue over like versus the. It's like, it's got to be the. There's a cadence to it. Like it's,
Yeah, or even just in the editing bay right now, we were just debating about like, do you do a wide or, you know, a close up on just like one sentence? But it makes a difference. It changes the scene.
who of the Katydids still takes it quite personally when they get voted down?
Oh no. We
I
can't.
feel like at this point we're all so beaten down that it's just like a okay, whatever. Like
we all, I feel like we all take it in stride, and then we all have our moments the day where it's like, well, just, I think you're all wrong.
yeah, we for sure have days walking out where it's like, have a good night, girl. Yeah, I'm fine. Like, for sure, we have like those nights where it's like, hey, girl, are you okay? Yeah, it's fine. That was a stupid decision, but it's fine. But I think
I know you voted it down. I know everybody voted against me, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, don't act like I'm okay now.
Just
you
so-
saw me in that room.
Just so you're aware, it was a brilliant idea, and you're all going to regret this. We all have that moment, but the next day you're fine because, I don't know, we trust each other.
Yes,
and
we really do. I think that's like an amazing thing about the group is at the end of the day, I think why the show works so well is we all have very different voices. And so we always say all of our voices come together to form this one unique voice. So at the end of the day, there are fundamental things that I'm like, I don't find that funny at all because it's not my voice, but I trust them so much that I know it's great. So even if I don't personally think it works or I really do trust at the end of the day, I'm like, no. If they believe in it, I know it's great. I can let go. And I feel like we're pretty good about that.
yeah.
Was there a moment? It was about 6 years or so as a group, right before the show, before you got the show. Was there a moment in those 6 years where you felt like, okay, this is the group of people that I want to work with for a long time, or was it just sort of going kind of well, and then you got a show, and now you feel like family? And
I think we did feel it because there was a lot of things we tried in Chicago. We did a bunch of different sketch shows, and we did like a reality TV demo.
Oof, yeah.
It was heinous because we
Horrible.
wouldn't talk bad about each other. It was just saying we love each other, and they were like, we don't want to buy this.
Yeah.
But we did a lot.
is it a reality show about
following
a
the
sketch group of everyone named Katie?
Yeah, that was the
Amazing.
premise. If that didn't really catch you to watch.
group of girls who were just nice to each other.
Yeah,
and
they
really
kept being
supported
like,
and loved each other.
But what's wrong with her? And we'd be like, I don't know. I think she's great.
And then
Guys, I got it. It's
like,
a reality show about a group of women all named Katie.
They're
and they do
improvisers.
comedy together.
And what's your storyline? I hang out with my dog and I do improv.
Yeah, and we don't have boyfriends. Yeah, it was like the saddest pitch ever.
The saddest. But I remember that because we kept getting interviewed asking why we were doing it. And we were like, well, it's not that we really want to be on a reality show. It's just that we want to work together. We'll work together in any opportunity that comes up. Almost any opportunity
Pretty
that
much.
comes up. So yeah, I think we always really wanted to work together. But it's interesting because teachers happened at just the right time. We've done a bunch of videos. We did the web series. We released it. And then a couple Katydids moved to LA. And the whole group wasn't going to move. So it was kind of like, well, this was this great thing. We love each other. But at this point, some people want to move forward. And it was very serendipitous that teachers, like basically, I moved to LA and 3 months later, teachers sold. So it was just kind of perfect timing.
Have any of you felt like you have to apologize to teachers that you grew up with that taught you? Have any of them watched the show and been like, oh, I did that to you?
No teacher is like Miss Snap that I grew up with. So
Yeah.
there's none of my teachers think that I'm mimicking them.
I do have teachers. I have former teachers of mine watch the show and are very supportive, but the show's very raunchy, and so I definitely have people be like, "Yeah, we watched it." Like the thing where it's like, "Oh, yeah." I mean, it's blue. Yeah,
The number one thing I get is you are very different from your character.
yeah.
Meaning, but I think the cool thing is a lot of the people that watch the show, our main demographic is teachers. So we get a lot of positive feedback. That's, when we do a lot of live events or interviews, we have a lot of teachers give us feedback and show up and say they love it and they can relate to it and they enjoy watching it because it's what they wish they could say or.
Right, I'm
or
sure
if
there's
they
a
know
catharsis
someone.
in watching teachers do the worst
Yes.
thing a teacher could do.
And actually I would say a majority of our storylines are actually from teachers that have written in and been like, you have to do something about this. And so
We're
lot
doing interviews with we talk to a
Yeah.
lot of teachers before we write.
Yeah.
You really?
Yeah. And they'll write in on Facebook or Twitter. And this year in season 3, we incorporated a school secretary because so many people wrote in and they were like, you have to do something about the school secretary. Like they are the gatekeeper to the school. So we incorporated her. Like I would say it's pretty rare that you won't find a story in the show that an actual teacher didn't give us or suggest that we do. Wow. Yeah, and Caitlin Barlow, one of the Katys, was a former teacher in Chicago Public Schools, and so she's always like, this would happen, this wouldn't happen. She's really good about that.
Right. She's got, I'm sure, a ton of stories.
Tons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get some questions from our audience. Who do we have here with a question? Right here.
Hi. I was just wondering if there were any like consequences that happened, like, or something that you didn't imply at the beginning of making the show, but like that happened and it was like a happy consequence. I don't know, any reactions that you thought were good for the show?
That's a good question. I don't know if this is answering your question, so
Go
feel
ahead.
free to be like, you missed the boat completely. But I will say, one of the things that comes to mind is when we did the web series, it actually was really grounded. If you can go and watch the web series on YouTube, and it's very grounded. It's really not broad, in my opinion, at all. It's very kind of almost like if it were, like it's not documentary style, but it's pretty straightforward. And so then, because we were a former improv group and sketch group, I think when we transitioned to narrative, the show took on another life of its own in narrative form that we didn't expect. It became we really like broad humor. And so we found ourselves with 21 minutes doing broader storylines and stuff like that. So I feel like that was a happy consequence. I don't think when we originally set out to do the show, we always referenced really grounded shows. And I would say the show's actually pretty broad. So I feel like that was kind of a happy consequence that we didn't expect. And then the response was always, your show doesn't feel like a narrative. It feels like a morph of a narrative. It feels sketchy sometimes. That was a happy consequence, I think, just because of the nature of our backgrounds.
Yeah, no, I agree. We set out to make a really grounded show, and then by the end of season 1, everyone was like, "It's so crazy," and we're like, "It is."
Yeah.
Apparently, we don't know what grounded is.
Yeah.
What were some of the grounded shows that you were looking at going into Teachers that you were some of your influences?
I feel like the one that was more grounded that we talked a lot about, that was kind of a reference point because it was a workplace comedy, was The Office. I mean, The Office isn't like unbelievably grounded.
Which
but
the British or
no, the American.
Yeah, the British is grounded. I would say
Yes.
the American is
It's a little bit, yeah.
very broad, but also
Very broad.
really smart and
Yeah.
clever. Like it's the best kind of broad.
Exactly. And so we had talked a lot about that. I feel like other shows we had talked about, I'm trying to think.
I know, I can't remember now.
I don't know that we ever specifically had shows, but we always were like, it's a grounded workplace comedy and very understated.
Maybe a little Parks and Rec, but we had always said like more grounded than Parks and Rec in the Office
Yes.
when we were first talking about it, because we were like, we want it to be real. We wanted teachers to be able to watch it and feel like this is really what happens. But then just in talking and learning about how to, write a whole season, our humor, we were sketch writers beforehand, kept going, to the extreme. And it was really great because Network, we're really lucky to work with TV Land, but they'd let us go as crazy as we want, and they still do, but would just tell us, you just got to put a little heart in. Like just put, just as long as it's, coming from a real place, go crazy. You can have, this season I have a stunt kid fall into a wood chipper. It's like that,
Yeah.
It's not grounded
At all.
I imagine that's a pretty cool feeling, though, to go into a project and be like, these are my influences, and this is the thing that I think I want to make, and then going, oh, but this is the thing that I would naturally make that I'm making. Like,
It's really interesting because I think we maybe had a misconception about our voice. Exactly. I think we didn't really understand what our voice was, and so it was very interesting to watch it morph and mold into what it is now and be like, oh, yeah, this is not grounded or understated at all, but this is our voice, and like this is what the show is. But yeah, I don't think we set out to make this show at all.
I imagine that can be a kind of scary feeling when you're dealing with someone like your character and you're like, oh my God, I am dark. Like this is like, why? I'm like a nice person. Why do I love writing and performing as this character?
I know it is. It's like at the end of this season when I had to face my family in Kansas, I was like, they were like, whoa, this is a little crazy. And I'm like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we just blacked out and wrote it. Yeah,
I blacked out for 12 months, came up with a show, and this is what we did.
Next question.
Hi. I was wondering if you could have any other comedian on the show, who would you have and what role would they play?
Oh, that's a good question.
There's so many people. For a long time, I've said this, though, Tony Hale, I wanted to come on and be Mary Louise's Bennigan, which is just who Katy O'Brien plays, just a relative or family friend, an uncle, because I love him.
Even if there's a
Extremely
female,
nice person.
so nice, and he's unbelievably talented. he would be such a dream get for our show, but it's so funny because even if it's like a female character, Katie will be like, what about Tony Hale?
Yeah,
and
I
we're like,
pitched him for multiple female characters, and I was like, you can make it a man. It's fine.
We'll just change it. Yeah, he's a good one. I feel like, I don't know what character he would play, but I'm a huge Christopher Guest fan. He would be like my ultimate. Maybe he could be a really bizarre groundskeeper. I don't know, but he would be my like dream. Like I would puke if he showed up. I would die.
How do you handle Christopher Guest showing up to something like that, though, that's scripted? Because you want to, I mean, I feel like you would want to recraft an episode so that he could just have a chance to do his own thing. Like, you think about, like, the macadamia nut thing in Best in Show. That is a riff, and is one of the most brilliant riffs of all time.
Yes.
You definitely, like, if you had him guest star, you would just want to create space for him to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like I would just be like, whatever you want to do, we'll do.
You'd
Like,
probably just show up, though, and go, just give me your script.
I just want to get out of here.
I think we have time for one more.
Over here. So what motivates you guys to wake up every day and work on the show?
We really love the show. I mean, we love this show. And it's so much fun to work on. And we have like a really amazing network behind us who literally has taken us out of Chicago and has just been like, we just want you. Do what you do. We want your voice. And so I think what motivates us and is just this amazing opportunity to get to show up and be like, what if a kid fell into a wood chipper and it was a fake demonstration, and then you watch props start to put together these blood, and then you start to watch people bring in a giant wood chipper, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy that I had this idea and now all these people are bringing it to life, and it's fun. I think that's really what motivates me.
There's a big difference between doing a show for like a network and making videos for yourself, right?
Oh,
because
yeah.
when you're making videos with your sketch group, all of you are lugging these things in there, and it feels like a huge labor of love, which I'm sure this does too. But with a show, you can be like, I have this idea. Oh my God, that person's executing my idea. That's so cool.
Yes. In fact, really quick story. There's this an upcoming episode that we're filming where a kid brings in a hamster with giant balls, and it's used for the science fair, and it's like this freak show science experiment, and she's like, oh, Miss Watson's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna win with this giant hamster's balls. And so our poor prop guy was searching for a hamster with really large balls, found one. They brought in this hamster and they were like, do you want to check its ball size? Is this big enough? And I was like, this is so weird that this is our job.
Yeah. It was killing me because they also needed a prosthetic ball because the hamster couldn't be on set. You know, the hamster has hours that it'll work.
Yes.
So I loved them. Then we had to get a fake hamster and then match the fake hamster's balls with the real hamster's balls. And the amount of pictures I looked comparing the two is not right.
No.
Where did they find a hamster specifically with big balls?
I don't know.
He's probably not well.
They start high and low. And this hamster's balls literally like drag across its cage as it walks.
Like the owner of that hamster was like, this hamster has big balls. We're going to make it a star. Like, put this up on Craigslist. Someone's going to want a hamster with big balls at some point.
Teachers on TV land grabbed it.
And we grabbed that guy right up. And yeah, but it's stuff like that I'm like, this is so weird. That's
so cool. It's I feel awful, but it's so cool that you can just think of something and we have to figure it out.
Yeah, and it works. Yeah.
Well, I love the show. Congratulations on 3 seasons. It's on TV Land. Which night is it on TV Land again?
Tuesdays, 10:30, 9:30 Central.
Tuesdays, 10:30, 9:30 Central. And there's about 9 episodes? Or
we're airing 10 right now. I think
10. So 10 episodes.
6 have aired and 4 have left to air of this 10 that we're airing.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Everybody, please give them a big round of applause. Let's hear it.
Thank you.
you.